What's going on, guys? Justin Conroy, Financial Dad here, and today I want to tell you about the 4 best books on personal finance for beginners. These are the very same books that I read in my early days of learning about personal finance, and they really changed my life for the better when it comes to money, so I want to share them with you. So if you're new to the personal finance space and you're looking for some books to read to get you in the right mindset about money, debt, wealth building, and what it means to be wealthy, these are some of the best books out there, especially for beginners. So with that, do me a big favor and smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's get started. So the first book in my list is Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. Now, if you're new to personal finance and you've never heard of Dave Ramsey, you should know that he is one of the biggest names in personal finance, and as a result, he and his teachings are probably one of the most heavily debated, controversial topics in personal finance. Now, the bulk of this book focuses on what Dave calls the baby steps, but he does touch on his other philosophies on things like budgeting, debt, credit cards, home financing, investing, and insurance. Now, the cool thing about this book is it stands as a really good introduction to personal finance, and it teaches a very, very safe philosophy about how to manage your money and build wealth. Now, Dave's baby steps are as follows. Step 1, save up a starter emergency fund of $1,000. Step 2, pay off all your debts except for your house using the debt snowball method, that's smallest to largest. Step 3, save up a fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. Step 4, invest 15% of your pre-tax income into retirement savings. Step 5, invest and save for your kids' college. Step 6, pay off your mortgage. And finally, Step 7, build wealth and live and give like no one else. Now, Dave Ramsey would tell you that his book is for everyone, and in some ways, I agree, which is why this book is on my top list of best books on personal finance for beginners. See, the thing is, Dave's baby steps are a low-risk, foolproof method of becoming wealthy. They're absolutely not the fastest method or the most efficient, but it's foolproof and it has no risk of failure, or at least none that I can find. If you follow his steps, you will become wealthy eventually, which is why this book makes it on my list for beginners. But, and I know the Dave Ramsey fanboys and girls out there will not agree with me here, there are some modifications to his baby steps and philosophies that are more efficient with minimal added risk. And some of those are what I teach here on this channel, and what you'll hear about in some of the other books on my list today. Speaking of which, let's put Dave back on the shelf over here and let's move on to the second book on my list, and that is The Millionaire Next Door by Dr. Thomas Stanley and Dr. William Danko. Now, this book is hands down my favorite personal finance book ever. Basically, this book is a narrative-style report of the results of a huge study these guys did from roughly 1976 to 1996, where part of their research included interviewing over 1,000 people who had a net worth of over $1 million. And this book was the first book I ever read that really gave me a good idea of what it means to be wealthy. Back then, when I was new to the personal finance world, I, like most people, thought that being wealthy meant fast cars, big houses, and private jets. But the reality is that this image of wealth is mostly just made up by Hollywood. Sure, there's definitely people out there with millions of dollars doing those things, but the reality is most of your everyday average wealthy people, your everyday millionaires, are just your everyday average Joes. The most telling thing is the 7 basic characteristics of wealth that they identify pretty early in the book. From their research, they found that wealthy people, 1, live below their means, 2, they allocate their time, energy, and money efficiently in ways conducive to building wealth, 3, they believe that financial independence is more important than displaying high social status, 4, their parents did not provide them with economic outpatient care, i.e. monetary handouts, 5, their adult children are economically self-sufficient, 6, they're proficient in targeting market opportunities, and 7, they chose the right occupation. One of my favorite excerpts from this book is a story they tell about the first event that they held to interview some wealthy people they'd identified. They set up the room with caviar, high-dollar wine, cocktails, and the like, and the wealthy folks that showed up were completely uncomfortable. In later sessions, they learned to provide things like club sandwiches and soft drinks so that their interviewees would be much more comfortable. So not only does the book teach you that being wealthy is probably not what you think it is, but it gives you good insights into how to get there. The book does a really good job of covering topics like the importance of frugality, the habits of the wealthy, financial independence, and the strategies for becoming wealthy. Moving on to the third book on my list, which is Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Now, this book makes it on my list because it's both entertaining and informative. See, the thing is that this book in my hands is a borrowed copy. I have only ever owned the audio version, and the audio version is narrated by Ramit himself. And let me tell you, this guy does a great read-through of this book. The whole time I was listening to the book, I felt like I was sitting at a bar having a drink with Ramit, talking to him about personal finance. It was a great listen that I would recommend to anyone, and it may be the best starting place for you because while they are informative, the other books on my list don't even compare to this one in terms of entertainment. Now, I won't say that anything he teaches is revolutionary, but it is definitely a different perspective. For example, his perspective on budgeting is that budgeting is bad. Budgeting makes you feel bad because it's so restrictive. And Ramit's perspective is that you don't need a budget. You need what he calls a conscious spending plan. I won't get into the details here, but when you boil it all down, there's really no difference between a budget and a conscious spending plan. But I'm not saying Ramit is wrong, because some people need to think about things differently and you've got to do what works best for you. I actually really like his perspective on things. Ramit's book really hit home in two areas for me. First, he talks a lot about the automation of finances, the whole set it and forget it mentality. In other words, automatic deposits on your paychecks, scheduled on certain days, automatic payments of bills, automatic moves of a set amount of discretionary spending money, and automatic investments. Personally, I had a lot of automatic things set up prior to reading this book, but after I read it, I put everything on autopilot. And as a result, my finances have been much better and easier to manage. Second, Ramit's book was the first book I ever really read that broke down the different types of investment funds that you can have, the benefits of each, and the drawbacks of each. That section of the book alone is a really great introduction that gave me the vocabulary that I needed to learn more. This book, really, really great stuff. The fourth book on my list is Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book is really something. It doesn't really talk too much about budgeting or emergency funds or any of the normal personal finance stuff you hear about, because this book was my first real introduction to wealth building, which is distinctly different than personal finance. Whereas the other three books on my list are really focused more on building wealth through good money management practices, frugality, and investments, this book was more about building wealth by making your money work for you, taxes, and why financial literacy is so important. I really liked Robert's book because it opened my eyes to the world of scalable income. Meaning, most people just generate an income from having a job, and that's it. But in reality, you can make money in a lot of different ways, with some of those being relatively passive in comparison to having a job that you have to go to and do every day. Real money is made by things like investments, businesses, real estate, royalties, inventions, or licensing, and understanding how to legally not pay as much in taxes. Similar to the other books on this list, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is not an end-all be-all solution, but it is a really great introduction to wealth building, which is why it's on my list. So with all that, what do you think of the list? What are your favorite books? And please, let me know down in the comment section below, because honestly, I'm looking for something new to read. And if you made it this far in the video and found some sort of value in it, whether it be entertainment or education, be sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Smashing that like button lets YouTube know that you enjoyed the content, and they use that data to help decide if this video should be pushed to other people. So it really does help this channel grow. Also, I post new videos about wealth building, money management, and personal finance every week. So be sure to subscribe for more content if you haven't already. All that being said, if you're new to personal finance and need a beginner's crash course, be sure to check out the video on the screen right now, because it will cover the basics that you need to know and will help you get you on your path towards wealth. Thanks for watching.